but he's coming back. This is new mess at a whole new level.
Wow, you're sure? You're sure about that? He's coming back. He's coming back. He's coming back. He's coming back. Hey, who's that guy?
No one thought he'd come back, but he's coming back. This is new mess at a whole new level.
Wow, you're sure? You're sure about that? All right. He's coming back. He's coming back. He's coming back. He's coming back. He's coming back.
Center. I'm going to encourage everybody to kind of make their way down. The first 3 rows here are reserved for media. We've got shooting platforms in the back. We're going to try to create some space so we can get our world-famous band some room to operate here. And we'll start our press conference in about 10 minutes or so. Thank you all for being here.
for. Everything you want is right here. We gon' give them what they came for. We gon' take it up from last year. Shoot 'em a shot while I'm long range. Me and the team on the same thing. Stay down, never switched up. When the game changed, what's the game? I'm in the zone now. Nothing can change what we on now. When I pull up, know it's going down. Pulling the gas and it's slowing down. Aiming for greatness to settle in. Kick down the doors, they won't let me in. Taking their life, yeah, they gotta win. Watch me kick down the doors, they won't let me in. We're running the game now. Foot on the gas, can slow down. No, my team be holding it down. We know we running it now. Watch the game change. Watch the game change. Yeah.
Touches again, Lynch. Touchdown, UMass.
Watching, think you should leave now. What I taking your breath, yeah, gotta win. Watch me kick down the doors. We're running the game now. Foot on the gas, can slow down. No, we're running the game now. Foot on the gas, can slow down. No, my team be holding it down. We know we running it now. Watch the game change. Watch the game change. Watch the game change. Watch the game change.
Sounds like a win. All right, ready to start this thing. How you guys doing? Thank you all for being here today. Welcome to the Marty Jacobson Football Performance Center for our MAC introductory press conference. My name's Jay Burnham. I'm the voice of the Minutemen. I'll give you a little rundown here as to what we're going to do today, and just thank you all for being here, and thanks for those joining us online. If you don't have a media packet, first 3 rows down here are available for our media. You'll find the press release that's in there, quotes, and a lot of information about the new conference that Massachusetts Athletics is heading in. The rundown today will be pretty simple. We'll hear from UMass Chancellor Javier Reyes first, and then Director of Athletics Ryan Bamford, and we'd like to welcome the MAC Commissioner, Dr. John Steinbrecher, for joining us today. We'll let them have their initial comments, and then we'll open things up to questions for this leadership panel. And then after that, we'd like to welcome up UMass football head coach Don Brown, and head coach for men's basketball, Frank Martin, and they will have a question and answer session with you all as well after they have their statements. Now, one note, we would also have here women's basketball head coach Mike Leffler, but Coach Leffler and his team won a game yesterday down in the A-10 tournament. They're on a little bit of a roll, so they'll play this afternoon in Richmond at 1:30, and we'll all be following along. After we're all said and done, we'll have a nice little photo op, and then break out for any one-on-one sessions or additional questions that you all may have. So I will step aside and I will hand it over to our Chancellor, Mr. Javier Reyes. Chancellor, it's all yours.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you very much for that introduction. And I can see you behind the balloon over here, so very good. I just want to say thank you all of you for coming today. It's an exciting day for this university. It's an exciting day for the MAC. You'll hear a lot from all of us today, and we'll answer some questions. But I do want to say one thing. This is the outcome and the result of work that happened over the years. I think I want to start by saying, Ryan, thank you. All the amount of work that you have put into this university doesn't go unnoticed, how you have transformed our athletics programs all across the board. And this is just but one more step in the direction and the vision that you have set forward for UMass. It is a day of change. It is a day of where we're going to our next chapter in our athletics programs. Of course, joining the MAC, providing a home for a football team, but continue our investments in all our programs. We're doing great in basketball. I see Coach Martin over there. We're doing great in basketball, and we'll continue to do so. But we know that this brings a stability to our athletics programs across the board. And with that, it also brings one more thing. The MAC is not only an athletics conference that we can join. The MAC is also joining a set of universities that are like-minded like UMass, land-grant, research universities, public universities that face the same realities, that face the same challenges, and address the same opportunities across the nation from an academics perspective, a research perspective, being able to build academic consortia, research consortia. So it's not only about our athletics, it's also about our academic excellence and being able to be with partners that are looking at the world and are providing the talent and pipeline of talent in athletics and in academics that will face the challenges of the next generation. So with that said, I just want to say thank you very much, Commissioner, for being here. Thank you for all the conversations we've had. Thank you for the work that you and your team have put together to make this possible. And I would like now pass the word to Brian Bamford.
All right. Thank you, Chancellor. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. This is a really special day for our athletics program. It's as much about what we've done in our past as it is about where we're going in our future. And I'd like to recognize our athletics staff, many of whom are here today, for your leadership, for your vision, especially our head coaches and our cabinet members. Obviously for the last 10 days for organizing this announcement and the work that goes into this press conference and other things, but especially for the ways that we've been able to organize our athletics department to have this opportunity and to meet this moment. Very thankful for our band, the best band in the land. Thank you for that introduction. I want to start by just really recognizing and showing our gratitude for the Atlantic 10 Conference, a conference that we have been a founding member of back in the 70s, conference that has been a wonderful home for us for 48 years. I can tell you in the 9 years that I've been in the league, our athletics programs have thrived in the Atlantic 10. And it's an organization of member institutions that want to be excellent. And it's really pushed us to meet the challenge of being great. And so I want to thank Commissioner McGlade for her leadership, for her partnership, and for all my colleagues in that league, and our Chancellor, the campus CEOs. It's been a great league for us, and I want to thank them for recognizing the passion that we have and instilling even more. And with that, I will tell you that this transition and this decision was not made without great thought for what's ahead for our athletics program. It's no surprise to anyone in this room that college athletics is changing rapidly. It's evolving quickly. The climate is challenging. The legislative and legal changes and challenges are persisting. And I would tell you that now more than ever, there was an opportunity for us to really focus on two objectives, to focus on alignment and to focus on access. And be at a place where we thought we could grow and thrive as an athletics department to meet the next moment, to meet what's ahead of us, and to think about the next 50 years for UMass athletics. And our decision to go into the Mid-American Conference meets those two objectives. The Chancellor referenced it, the alignment of institutions, the public research nature of those institutions, but also the strategic priorities that those institutions and athletic departments have to use athletics as the front porch of the institution to drive excellence is also really unique, but also extremely aligned with where we are as an institution ourselves. And when I thought about what was next for us and watching what's happening around us, the moment to change conferences is one that you go into and you realize very quickly not only who your peer set is, but you also realize what you want to be. And if I was to say to our athletic staff, which many of you have heard us say, and to those fans and supporters that are watching the press conference, it's time for us to meet that moment and to do so with unapologetic ambition. I referenced in our email last week when we announced on Thursday to all of our supporters that we were going to go into the MAC with the respectful intent to be the standard of excellence, academics and athletics. And I believe that the future is extremely bright because of this relationship, because of the commitment to excellence that we've had, and the impression that I get from everyone associated with this university that we're not just going to go in and think that it's time to relax or rest or be content, but it's time to accelerate, and it's time to do more, and it's time to be better, and it's time to be great. And that is what has me excited about what is ahead for our athletics program. I want to thank our Chancellor very early in his tenure, introducing this concept to him. He's been an unbelievable thought partner. He's been extremely strategic. His business acumen, the identity that he wants our athletics program to have in the footprint of this university is extremely exciting. Chancellor, thank you for your vision and incorporating athletics so intently into that vision. And then to our new commissioner, Commissioner Steinbrecher, a man who, when I got here 9 years ago, we were leaving the MAC as a football member, and I will tell you that I had, at the time, and has grown my great appreciation for our relationship and for his leadership. I've watched it, and we communicate over the years, have communicated frequently, and I think to have the ability to be in this league under his leadership, I want to thank him. I want to thank his staff, many of whom are here today, and the MAC presidents and the MAC athletic directors for their value, their belief in us, and the value that this institution brings to the Mid-American Conference. Thank you.
Well, good morning. What a great morning. And before I jump into my remarks, let me introduce a handful of our senior staff who made the trip. I have Chris Turner, who is our Chief Operating Officer and Deputy Commissioner. Ricky Stokes, who's Senior Associate Commissioner for Men's and Women's Basketball. Kristen Williams, Senior Associate Commissioner for Institutional Services and our Senior Woman Administrator. And Jeremy Guy, who is our Associate Commissioner for Media Relations. A favorite quote of mine is from Abraham Lincoln. He said, "I will get ready and maybe someday the chance will come." That's really a philosophy I try to live by. I'm guessing it's a philosophy that our coaches try to impart on their student athletes. And I would say it speaks to where we are today for the Mid-American Conference and for the University of Massachusetts, because the chance has now realized itself. And on behalf of the student athletes, of the faculty, the coaches, administrators, and the Council of Presidents of the Mid-American Conference, I am pleased to welcome Massachusetts into our membership. Given that this is the first invitation we have provided since the late 1990s, it should be evident that we don't open our door to just anyone. Among our strengths is the homogeneity of our membership. The Mid-American Conference is an association of public national research institutions. The opportunity to add Massachusetts was simply too great to pass up. It is rare to be able to add a flagship university that is among the finest institutions in the country, along with an athletics program that is broad in its sports offerings and deep in tradition. The addition of Massachusetts offered the unique chance to stretch our geography in a sensible manner into a contiguous state, allowing the conference to maintain the tightest geographic footprint among the FBS conferences while establishing a presence in the Northeast. Our membership takes exceptional pride in being a student-centric conference. We point to such things as having developed the first conference-wide mental health program, which incidentally came from a conversation with our student athletes, establishing the first conference-wide diversity, equity, and inclusion program, and including perhaps being the first, if not among the first, to include our student athletes within the governance system of the conference. I want to commend Chancellor Reyes, Director of Athletics, Bamford, for shepherding Massachusetts through this membership process. Most specifically, our conversations really picked up in late September, although, as Ryan referenced, we've had a relationship that goes back well over a decade, and we'd have periodic checkpoints. But somewhere in September, the conversation started again. I think Ryan reached out, and we just started that conversation. I actually came to a football game in November very quietly and wandered the campus and enjoyed a football Saturday. And this whole process culminated about 2 weeks ago with the meeting of our Council of Presidents. The strong interest in the Mid-American Conference and tireless advocacy for Massachusetts facilitated a unanimous decision by our Council of Presidents. Today is rightly a celebration of years of effort to get into a full sports conference. However, the demanding work continues, as change is never easy, and our membership needs to continue to work together as we seek to fulfill our potential both on the field and in continuing to meet the intellectual and development needs of our student athletes. Welcome to the Mid-American Conference.
All right. Thank you very much, Commissioner. Very much appreciated. Thank you all. We're going to open things up to some questions from the media only. We've got Jeremy Girard over here on our left and Dan Colleran on my right. If you have a question, raise your hand and just state your name and your media affiliation, and go ahead and direct it at one of our members on the stage. Who's first?
Jesse Kolodkin, Berkshire Eagle. This question is mostly for Ryan, but just what changed in the last 2 years that really made it seem like you guys were focusing on finding a conference for everything now?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think what we've watched happen around us, the environment, and especially in FBS conferences, I think now, moving to 9 FBS conferences and the access, I talked about access, the college football evolution, being an independent was really not a great long-term strategy. We've had young men in the locker room downstairs who haven't had a chance to fight for a conference championship in 8 years. That's a hard thing to talk, to be with your student athletes and not have that ability. But I really felt like with the changes in the FBS model, the structure and what's happening to the NCAA, this was a chance for us to bring a relatively young FBS football program, allow us to nurture it, to grow it, to invest further in it, but also bring along a portfolio of sports that have had a tremendous amount of success in the Atlantic 10, and I think will have transferable success in the MAC, and to be able to invest more thoroughly in those opportunities for our young men and women in those programs. It was a good fit in that respect. But with all those environmental changes around us, I really, and the commissioner made this point, the stability of this league when you're trying to grow your athletics program and invest strategically in it, the stability of knowing that this league has not changed membership in the last 20 years, has not added a member in the last 25 plus years. I think really the only other Division I league that can say that is the Ivy League. And this day and age, we're watching all this change happen around us. And even in the Atlantic 10, since 2007, we've had 9 members come or go. And that's really challenging when you're trying to build an identity and a brand. And I think this affords us that opportunity in spades.
Good morning. Jill Kaufman, New England Public Media. You spoke about the merging of athletics and academics. Can you address, either Dr. Reyes or Mr. Bamford, how UMass intends to address the academic needs? I believe athletes will be on the road more in this division.
You want me to go first? Yeah, it's interesting. You would think that. But I will tell you that 2/3 of our A10 members, we're getting on an airplane right now to go play those games. And The missed class time is actually very similar in looking at the profile of the sport offerings in the MAC when they organize their schedules, their league schedules. Obviously, we're fortunate in that our non-league competition in a number of our sports, we have so many Division I institutions within a 4 to 6 hour radius that we can get on a bus and play in the non-conference schedule. So we don't anticipate that our missed class time will be an issue at all. And we've had those conversations with the academic side of our enterprise. Our faculty athletic rep does an amazing job of helping us steward that process and being thoughtful about that. And the costs will go up a little bit because we will be traveling a little bit more by plane. But it's a 5 to 8% increase, and with the advanced revenues that we're going to see in this conference, we think that it's a calculated, opportunity for us to expand ourselves. And really, we're in a relatively national league now, so we feel like it's relatively comparable with institutions already in Chicago and St. Louis University, and having to go to Davidson and the Richmond schools and Dayton and Duquesne. So it's similar footprint in a lot of ways.
Let me build on that a little bit and focus more on the faculty.
Yeah.
And one of the neat things we've developed in our league is an academic consortium, which really has 2 levels to it. One is a collaborative research effort, which Kristen Williams, back behind us, is helping to shepherd. The other is our academic leadership development program, in which we're helping to develop the next generation of leaders in higher education, and with all of our institutions working together as we bring together an array of people every year. And we're starting to see the fruits of that as these people are now moving on and becoming chairs of departments, deans, provosts, et cetera.
And if I can expand on that, I am the product of such an academic leadership consortium. When I was at the University of Arkansas, which is part of the SEC, there was the SEC Academic Leadership Program, and it develops talented faculty members into possibly administrators with a peripheral understanding of the whole university. So one of the presidents that is no longer in the MAC, who used to be the provost at Arkansas, became a president at Toledo and worked with another president there to establish this academic leadership program. And it really brings the faculty into the membership, into the conference, and creates a lot of research initiatives. It creates a lot of exchange with the students. It creates a very nice academic environment related to our athletics, but not defined by it, and is, I think, expanded.
This question is mainly for Ryan. Quinn McCarron, Midnight Ride, NIL. Over the next 5 years, we're to see UMass moving into the MAC for football, but what are some other steps that the program is going to be taking in order to raise the level of competition?
Yeah, I think when I referenced it a little bit in my opening remarks, when you have transition like this, I think the real defining moment back in the summer and fall when we're watching all this change happen around us is the ability to look inward and make sure that we're doing things that are going to allow us to grow and to prosper and to build excellence. And so the investments that we've made in our athletics program in my tenure, I think, have been strategic, have allowed us to build a better academic experience, social experience, and certainly competitive experience. I think from a standpoint of our football program, we have a big, bold vision, and this is an opportunity for us to reframe our vision and reimagine our outcomes and our goals and to build a campaign for excellence in athletics. But we have a big, bold vision to change the infrastructure of this stadium, to change what this facility can do not only for its football program, but for this campus at large and for the campus community, because I think at the leading public research universities, especially the flagship campuses across this country, it's such an integral part of the campus experience. And we have to make sure that we're getting to a position where we can say that every day, that we've integrated ourselves fully into the campus experience for every student that comes to the university. And so it's a very big picture idea, but there's a lot of things that go into that I think will add up and ultimately allow us to reach that goal.
And if I can add one thing, that it's an important aspect that we're not looking at one facility at a time. We're looking at the campus as a whole. We're trying to get an understanding when you have a change in chancellors that you look at the strategic plan for the university for the next 10 years. And we're working with our administration to look at every part of our campus when it comes to our residence hall, when it comes to our academic labs, when it's our classrooms, our offices, our athletics facilities, our performing arts facilities. Everything is being looked at in conjunction to be able to have a vision for the campus, that it gets completed with a strong investment in all areas, including what we're doing with our track and field, what we will do with basketball, what we're doing with hockey, what we're doing with football. It's important to say it has to be a complete picture and not looking at one at a time. And that's what you will be hearing over the next, I would say, 12, 15 months as we complete all our strategic plan. What are we going to be doing in those areas?
Pedro Gray Suarez, Massachusetts Daily Collegian. Ryan, how much did your previous experience when, having that decision whether to leave the Atlantic 10 or not influence your decision-making this time around? Was there a lesson to be learning, maybe leaving at the right time or something like that?
Well, the decision to leave, to not come to the MAC as an all-sport member predated me. So I came in the year that we were leaving as a football member. I would say this day and age in college athletics, one of the real advantages that I think our industry has is it's a fraternity in a lot of ways of ADs and coaches, and there's real opportunity to understand best practices and understand how to universally explore opportunities. And so there's no shortage of ADs who have gone through conference realignment decisions. So I had a lot of colleagues that I leaned on to make sure that I was thinking about this and I could present it to our campus leader and to our trustees in the right way, and also frame the conversations that I could have with Commissioner Steinbrecher. And again, I referenced before, it's a moment in time for us, and this is a powerful moment for us to take advantage of this opportunity. And I think for the decision that we were undertaking in the last 6 months or so, I was really resolute in making sure that it's a great strategy for the long-term health of our programs. And because you don't want to mortgage the success or the future for any of your student athletes or your coaches or your staff members. And I felt like this was, in that way, really met that decision point, that data point for us.
Garrett Cody, Daily Hampshire Gazette. This one's for the commissioner. Do you anticipate seeing MAC programs invest more into their basketball programs to compete with a team as strong as UMass with a budget as big as UMass?
I certainly hope so. We have high expectations. We've had very good success at times. If I go back pre-COVID, we had a decade where we were very consistently in the top third of conferences. We would expect to get there again. One of the things that is attractive about this is bringing in a basketball brand such as the University of Massachusetts. We think that will help us to, again, reignite that. Now, we've got work to do, no doubt about that. But I have faith that we're going to get there.
Glenn Kittle from Western Mass News. My question's for Chancellor Reyes. We talked about that financial impact earlier in terms of travel expenses. What overall estimates for financial impact on this university are we looking like in terms of possible dollars made, or will students feel financial impacts potentially?
Well, I can tell you that this will bring increased revenues to the university. The exact numbers I would have to rely on Ryan and be able to present more details. But we went into this knowing that we also need to have more resources, not only for our athletics program, but also for our university. And this gives us the best opportunity to get there.
We just to give you some context on that, there's a couple of factors that are still to be determined relative to the conference's distribution with the college football playoff and some other things. But this will allow us to grow our revenues to the department by anywhere from 8 to 10 times what we're currently seeing from a conference standpoint. Right as we enter the league. And I think the ability to grow that over time is really going to be an impactful piece to our growth as a department.
And one of the things there are intangible benefits that you cannot see, but being able to be playing on a Wednesday night nationally, being able to have consistent visits to specific areas of the country, that will allow us to fly the UMass flag in many places in ways that it will result in increasing our stature, our reputation, increasing our recruitment and enrollment, increasing the interest of those cities in our students, that we will fight them for them, I'll tell you that. But we want them to stay in Massachusetts when they come study here. But there are a lot of intangibles of having such a strong brand and joining such a strong brand nationally that elevates the stature of the university. And those are not measured in revenue. There's a return on investment that happens because you're seeing the UMass flag out there consistently in places that you didn't see it before.
Dean Wendell, Massachusetts Daily Collegian. For Ryan, in today's day and age with some college athletics conferences being coast to coast, did the tighter footprint of the MAC make it a primary option for you, or was it more of a benefit that came on later in the decision-making process?
No, I think their geographical footprint, I referenced it earlier, it's not that dissimilar from, in a lot of ways, from what we're seeing now in the Atlantic 10. We have a number of Midwest schools, member schools. Again, I think the alignment of public research universities in really good places in our country, fertile recruiting areas. We certainly watched Mid-American Conference schools take advantage and activate on those regional relationships. The contiguous state aspect of being next to the flagship state university, Buffalo, being able to take a ride out there and maybe build a nice budding rivalry. Mark Allnut and I have talked about that, their AD, and I think that's got a lot of potential. So that was important to us as well. So certainly something we looked at. I think we've all watched what conference realignment has done from a geographical standpoint. It was important for us to try to stay tight, and the commissioner referenced that. I think it was important for their conference to do that too, and we had to make sure that we were answering those questions appropriately for them to feel good about bringing the University of Massachusetts into their footprint.
We'll take one more for this panel, and then a reminder, we will have breakout sessions after we're done before we hear from our coaching staff. So one more, if at all, down here.
Hi, Connor Pignatello with the Hampshire Gazette. So you just mentioned about, potential rivalry with Buffalo, and you guys have talked about, aligning, and sort of I wonder what, peer institution-wise, what other schools in the MAC do you believe UMass has a, future, align themselves with?
Obviously Buffalo stands out for those geographical reasons and the flagship nature. Obviously, having 4 R1 research universities in the league. I think all of the things that we talked about from an academic and research in realizing those opportunities for us, I think it's a tough question to answer until we get in, and I think every sport I've watched, we've studied what the MAC has done in all sorts of our Olympic sports and where do we fit, and I think by sport there's probably going to be some built-in rivalries because of excellence and success and those things, and I kind of like for our programs to carve out their own identity, but I think Buffalo's the natural one. But certainly we want to go in and be great member partners, great member institution, and build our own identity in there very quickly, and hopefully allow ourselves to find success and build those traditional rivalries that I think make college athletics so great.
Yeah. All right, how about a round of applause for our panel here at the start. Ryan, we're going to keep you there.
Chancellor and Commissioner, you guys can step off stage, but stick around because we're going to have you after the press conference as well. Chancellor talked about playing midweek, didn't use the appropriate terminology of Maction, so we'll let that one slide. We'd like to welcome up football coach Don Brown and men's basketball coach Frank Martin. Have a round of applause for them. And as I stated earlier, we're down a coach because Coach Mike Leffler and the women's basketball program are currently in the midst of an A-10 run, so big win for them yesterday against LaSalle. They'll play against Duquesne today at 1:30. And, of course, a big win last night for Coach Martin and his guys to get to 20 wins for the first time in a decade. So congratulations, guys. I'm going to open up just some introductory comments. Coach Brown, we'll start with you, and then Coach Martin, and then we'll have our Q&A with the coaches.
Yeah,
buddy.
We're excited. There's no doubt about that. We've got a group of guys that have been itching for 8 years to compete for a conference title. And when you have that as your, that's what you're looking for your players to achieve. It certainly is a big step, and it's nice for our guys to have the opportunity, and we're certainly excited about it. Ryan, Chancellor, for all the good hard work that they've done in making this happen, and we're going to certainly do our best to represent the university the right way for sure.
Coach Martin?
I guess we entered the transfer portal. One of the reasons I came to UMass because of the vision and the commitment for this university's athletic department to be great. I was sold on that by Ryan, by the leadership of the university. Obviously in basketball, because it's the sport I coach, I want to be given an opportunity to lead a program that not only competes for a conference championship, but also can align itself based on the history of this program where you can compete for a national championship. That was very appealing to me. Don Brown, who's been a friend for 25 years, was one of the phone calls I got to convince me to come to school, to come be the coach here. And coming from where I've been before I came to UMass, I've seen what investing in football does for the whole athletic department. As a coach, when I was young, I get frustrated when I needed more for our program from whoever had Ryan's job, and they'd say, I can't, but then I saw all this investment in football. And as I've gone through my journey, there's one sport that elevates all of us to a different place, and that's football. And when this university made a decision to go Division I in football, it was important. I understood all this before I took the job, that eventually this day was coming. And the Atlantic 10 does not offer that opportunity for our university, but obviously the MAC does. And I'm super excited. I'm excited for the future. I'm excited for, like I put on Twitter that one day, for those of you that do Twitter, I don't read it, but I'll put my thoughts on there so people can know what I'm thinking about. Change brings growth. Change is coming. And sometimes we control change, and sometimes change controls us. But it's coming. And when it comes, we got to be excited for the change. And that gives us an opportunity, like has been stated here, to reach out to different parts. It's 2024. The old conference alignments aren't what they used to be 20 years ago. So I'm excited, something new, and I think it's going to be great for our university as we move forward.
All right, questions for Coach Brown or Coach Martin? Go down to Pedro.
For Frank, when you look down the MAC, in terms of the competition level, what do you see are some of the pros and cons of the move?
Like I told Commissioner when I walked in, I haven't had a chance. I've been a little busy here for the last 6 months. I haven't had a chance to sit there and study the league right now. But being in basketball for as long as I have, spending time in the Midwest, the MAC has some very respected basketball programs in it. I got some guys that coach in that league that I respect and I'm very friendly with. Conference basketball is really hard. Don't fall victim for the analytics, okay? The rankings of conferences and all that are tied into nets. The net makes no sense right now. So I can't sit here and tell you, I'm worried about winning some games next week. I can't sit here and give you a perfect example of how we can improve the MAC or what opinions I have. I'm not invested in that one yet. I will be. And what I can tell you is that everything I know about the MAC, it's really good basketball. And my vision as we go into the MAC is no different than the one we had in the A-10 when I got here. Let's build a program that can compete for a conference championship. And if we can do that, then it puts you in a place where you can succeed in an NCAA tournament. And if you can succeed in the NCAA tournament, everything is where it needs to be. That's what the ultimate objective is. And so I can't sit here and give you exact details right now, but I can tell you I got tremendous respect for a bunch of coaches in that league. And I'm, I spend time in the Midwest, man. Midwest basketball is a whole lot of fun. I know us out here in the East Coast don't really understand it sometimes. I've been in the Midwest. Midwest basketball is really good, so I'm excited for it. I'm excited to recruit. I haven't recruited the Midwest in a while. I did for a while. Cincinnati, K-State, I spent a lot of time in the Midwest recruiting. I'm excited to merge the East Coast and the Midwest and figure it out. That's where change is fun. You get bored if you're running the same offense every single day. You get bored if, like when you deal with people, if you're constantly coaching the same person the same way, it gets boring. When you can grow and adjust to different areas and figure stuff out, that's where excitement comes from, and that's where our growth will come from.
Connor Pignatello, Daily Hampshire Gazette. This one's for Coach Brown and Ryan. You guys mentioned, kind of the long-term viability of being an FBS independent and, now being able to play for a conference championship. How would you evaluate UMass's time as an independent, and was it necessary to ultimately join a conference?
I would describe it as hard, very hard. I think the stability piece of this conference is something I can't overstate in that every year he has to prepare for 12 new different opponents. And 2 or 3 of them are Power 5 opponents. That's hard. That is challenging. And to build a program when we're just over a decade old as an FBS program, when you're an independent, those layers that you add into the dynamic, that structurally is hard to overcome that. So now we go in and perhaps that 5, 6, 7, I don't know how many of our opponents year to year will be the same. We'll wait to see what the conference organizes from a schedule standpoint. But when you have that familiarity for 2/3 of your schedule or 3/4 of your schedule, that's powerful for them. That's powerful for our guys to have that familiarity. So I think in that respect, and going into any conference, but especially this one where we're very similarly resourced. Right? We recruit a lot against Mid-American conferences. We recruit out of the same pockets of places for prospective student athletes. So from my standpoint, from my seat, I think this allows us, again, to nurture our football program for ultimate growth, which is what we need right now. And we weren't really able to ever get that to take hold as an independent.
Yeah, there's just to kind of hit on a couple things Ryan talked about. Scheme is a big part of college football. Offensively, defensively, special teams, scheme is a big deal. It's nice when you have some continuity and you're playing 8, 9 opponents a year, where you're playing them virtually every year. Well, then your preparation can take hold, and it's not like you're starting from scratch. For example, we're playing Auburn one week. This coming year, we're going to play Georgia one week. Then we're playing Missouri. Then we're playing Mississippi State. Well, not only do you have the physical challenge, which those teams present, but the new challenge of their concept and their scheme and getting our guys lined up, ready to go, and competing at a high level. And it's just nice when you have 8 opponents now, and we're no stranger to the MAC. We've played 2, 3, 4 teams. Next year we're playing 5 MAC opponents. So, obviously it's almost like we're getting a transition year. And but I'll give you a quick point. Like I was telling the guys the other day, we were talking about our move to the MAC. And the first thing we said was, now we've talked about this move. It's 2 years from now. Let's go back to work and worry about what's in front of us. And that's really the important thing for us, is we have to pay attention to what's in front of us, and that's the schedule for next year.
Torrey, Boston Globe. This one's for Frank. There's been a lot of talk about how this move affects recruiting and that kind of thing. You were recruited here in a way just under 2 years ago, and part of that was coaching in the A-10, a basketball first conference. In that process, the hiring process, the interview process, how much does the conference you're coaching in, how much did that matter to you, or was it just sort of secondary to things like facilities, the university, obviously your family connection, et cetera?
Coaching the Atlantic 10 was appealing to me because I've done most of my recruiting on the East Coast. I came here to coach at UMass, though. I didn't come here to coach against Atlantic 10 schools. I came here to help Ryan, who believes in giving us what we need to elevate our program to compete for a conference championship. With all due respect, last year I was the coach here, and we played these long-standing rivalries. Nobody came to games. And we need people to root for UMass, and that's what's happening this year. Our players played a certain way, we won some games, and our attendance just started to blow up as the season went on. I coach at UMass. I don't coach for the A-10. My job is to help UMass grow. As long as the school leadership, and I truly believe, they believed in me, and they haven't lied to me since I've been here, so why would I not believe in their vision as to what's best for us? As long as the school leadership is committed to allowing us to continue to grow, I'm all in. We'll go play on the beach. We'll play on a park. We'll play in the backyard. At the end of the day, you're competing, and that's not to put this back on football. All of us coaches in this room, we all belong to a league, man. There's a trophy they put at the end of the season on the table and say, go. They deserve that opportunity too. I'm a team guy. I'm not a, and by the way, it's a basketball school, it's a football school, it's UMass. It's not one or the other. It's, we're all in this together. We're all in this to elevate our profiles, elevate our programs, so we can all coexist and enjoy each other's success. That's why we do this, and so I'm excited. I was at K-State, and when we got to K-State, basketball had kind of floundered, and there's a guy there named Bill Snyder that's pretty darn good at his job, and he had just retired, and everyone said, it's a basketball school, we need basketball. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, how can you say this? And I understood K-State's history in basketball, and we continued to work, and it became like football. They upgraded football facilities. They invested so much in football, even though we started to win and they were trying to figure it out again. Guess what happened? It got better for everybody. It got better. The budget at basketball went up. The budget in track went up. My wife was a track athlete here. So I don't view this as a basketball coach. I view this as somebody that's invested in making it better for everybody here. Elevating football is going to make it better for everybody, and that's the vision. So I'm not into it's a basketball school, it's a football school. We're UMass, man, and we're going to go out there and play whoever's in front of us, and our job is to represent this university and represent the winning ways and the culture that's created by the leadership of this university to make sure that we do what we're supposed to do.
We'll take one more for the coaches. Yeah,
Jay, could I just follow up on that too? I want to make a point that I don't think Frank or I have made publicly, and it was in the recruitment and the search process 2 years ago with Frank. We had an introductory meeting, and Frank and I knew each other, and obviously Anya's wife is an alum, and they've been really supportive of our department and our program, our track and field program especially. And that first meeting was 3 or 4 hours, and we talked a lot about just big picture, where we were, where the A10 was. The second meeting, when I went down to visit Frank and Anya in their house, and I sat in Frank's office, one of the things that we talked about, and I distinctly remember saying to Frank, we're taking a big step in our investment in basketball with you coming. You coming is going to allow us to ramp up our resources for basketball, allow us to build a competitive program that's going to get back into the top half, top third of the A10. And he said to me, it's going to take 2 years. And at 2 years, we're going to evaluate where we are. Right? You remember saying this? And I said at that point, it's going to be important for you to understand that I'm going to do everything I can in those 2 years to be prepared for that moment to invest even further. Whether we're in the A10 or we're in the MAC, that investment needs to keep happening for our basketball program to flourish. We have the right head coach to allow us to do that. He's an unbelievable leader of our young men. He's got an unbelievable vision that he's been able to not only sell us internally on, but I think now sell everybody externally on what we can be. And so when you think about 2 years into his tenure, but you also think about the perfect storm of now joining the Mid-American Conference, I said it in my opening statement, we're not resting, we're not content, we're not relaxing, we're ramping up. And the investment doesn't stop, it doesn't rest, we're hitting all gas, no brakes, and we're gonna go. And we're gonna try to really do all we can to hit conference championships and to go to the NCAA tournament in all of our sports. But it's my commitment to him, and what I said to him 2 years ago, we're on target, the timing's right. Because he said, Ryan, I think I can get us into the top 5. Here we are, 2 years in. But it's going to take more to get us to the top 2, to win the league, to be an at-large selection. And so everything that we talked about 2 years ago, it's still on target. And I'm excited about that. And talking to Frank the last 10 days, I think he's excited about that too, because we're exactly where we thought we would be and exactly funding it and investing in it in the way that we wanted to.
All right, we'll take one more for our coaches panel, and then we'll have a photo op with all of our guests, and then we'll break out to one-on-one sessions. Also, we've got lunch on the horizon as well. So, Jesse, last question here.
Yeah, both coaches. Just recruiting has become very national nowadays, but because you're playing schools that are going to be so contiguous next to each other, how does that help your recruiting in the Midwest?
Well, the one thing I just look at is our recruiting period. And right now, if we were to evaluate, and somebody had done this, if they evaluated where we are in recruiting, we'd be at the top of the MAC in terms of our recruitment picture. So we feel good about that, and it's based on a decision that we made going into the portal, getting older, but also getting to know those players on a personal level, so that we kind of know what we're getting into, and they know where they're getting into when they come with us. And we think that's been a strategic move for us in terms of recruiting. And obviously we're starting to feel those positive pieces on the field with our, beating Army for the first time in our history. And obviously, beating New Mexico State early. So, we feel like we're going in the right direction, and excited about the path as well.
All right. Yeah. Oh, you want to touch on that too, Frank?
You can take shots at me. I can't believe you took a shot at the Chancellor earlier. I mean, what are you thinking of? Like, you want me to shut up, just tell me.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You want my, yeah, recruiting's, if you're not excited about where you work at, you're not recruiting good players. You got to roll up your sleeves and convince people to believe in your school. When we got to Northeastern, and we basically got hired at Northeastern, me as an assistant, him as a head football coach, our offices are next door to each other.
That was scary, by the way.
Oh, my God. Imagine us 25 years ago. We both had more energy back then. But both programs were in the dumps. And we had nothing to sell. We had no facilities. We didn't have, like, bells and whistles. And we convinced 8 kids from South Florida to come play basketball at Northeastern University and flipped the program from 7-win team, 6-win team to a 24-win team. They went from the worst 1AA program in the country to the preseason #1 AA football program in the country in that same time period. So if you're not excited about what you're selling, you're not going to recruit anyone that's any good. You got to have a vision, you got to have a purpose, you got to have a commitment to recruiting. It's not about getting on a private plane and showing up with a Rolex watch and wheeling and dealing. It's about working, making people know that you believe in them so they can invest their futures with you and the people that you're a part of. The interesting part in basketball, and anyone that knows basketball knows this, Midwest kids don't really come to the East Coast, and East Coast kids don't really go to the Midwest. Well, I got to figure that one out, because I really like what I sell at UMass, and that's over the next 2 years. That's my mission and my staff's mission. We got to figure that one out and how we're going to do that. But guess what? There's places like the South and the West Coast, and I got a guy from California on my team. I mean,
Dion's from Indiana.
Guy from Gary, Indiana. I mean, you got to roll up your sleeves and go. Recruiting, the recruiting of 25 years ago, where everything was regionalized, that's out the window, man. Yeah. That thing's over with.
All right, how about a round of applause for our coaches? I'd like you guys to stay right there and welcome back the Chancellor and Commissioner for a photo opportunity. As we've got some jerseys here bearing the number 13, which is representative of UMass being the 13th school to join the MAC. And as I mentioned earlier, if you guys have additional questions, once we're done with this photo opportunity, you can pull our coaches or administrators aside and ask them anything that you didn't get a chance to hear or any follow-ups that you'd like. But we got those jerseys. All right. How about a little music? Yeah. There we go. Additionally, the MAC has brought us a flag that they fly when a MAC team beats a Power 5 school. They got the pirate flag. Let's get that to the commissioner. All right.
right, guys, thank you so much. Coach Brown, Coach Martin, you guys are free to leave. We're going to have food in a second. If anybody wants to have any additional conversations with Chancellor Reyes, the Director of Athletics, Ryan Bamford, and MAC Commissioner, Dr. John Steinbrecher, feel free to stick around and hang out with us, and appreciate you all for being here today, and we look forward to some action when the time arises. Thank you so much.
This is the moment we waited for. Everything you want is right here. We gon' give them what they came for. We gon' take it up from last year. Shoot 'em a shot, boy, I'm long range. Me and the team on the same thing. Stay down, never switched up. Only thing changed was the game. I'm in the zone now. Nothing can change what we on now. When I pull up, know it's going down. Pull on the gas and it's slowing down. Aiming for greatness to settle in. Kick down the doors, they won't let me in. Taking their life, yeah, they gotta win. Watch me kick down the doors, they won't let me in. We're running the game now. Foot on the gas, can slow down. No, my team be holding it down. We know we running it now. Watch the game change. Watch the game change. Yeah.
Ready, touches again, Lynch.
Touchdown, you man. Watching. Think you should leave now. What else? Taking the West and the Galloway. Watch me kick down the doors, they won't let me in. We're running the game now. Foot on the gas, can slow down. No, we're running the game now. Foot on the gas, can slow down. No, my team be holding it down. We know we running it now. Watch the game change. Watch the game change. Watch the game change. Watch the game change.